Hi everybody. I'm just going to quickly show you how to prep the background for your watercolour landscape. It's really good if you could do this before we do our class on Thursday, but if you don't manage to do it, don't worry, you can do it during the session, but you might need to plug in a hairdryer nearby so that you can dry it quickly. I'll just talk about the materials that I've got so far because I know some of you are beginners and you might be new to watercolour. I've got a couple of large brushes. It really doesn't matter on the quality of the brush. I sometimes use decorator brushes. It's really just about getting a large quantity of paint onto the paper. I've got some watercolours mixed up to a really watery consistency. I've gone on a sort of variation of primary colours, so I've got a blue, I've got a brown that represents my red, and I've got a yellow. These were sort of dirtier experiments. So I've just added some nice clean water to them to make them really runny. The more you add, the thinner the colour content in it and the more transparent and paler your finished result will be. But I'll show you in a minute. If it's looking a bit brighter than you want it to, we can just take off some of the paint. So you can see that they're quite runny. I've also got a piece of cardi paper, a bit of leftover. I've always got lots of little scraps lying around. So this is a little scrap. You might want to go bigger if you want to create a bigger piece. So I've got, there's a bigger scrap there, look. You can also do this directly into your sketchbook. What you need to do is just wet the paper first. It's not got to be completely soaking, just nice and damp. The rougher the watercolour paper or sketchbook paper, the more water you'll need. If you've got a water spritzer, you can spritz the paper as well. There we go. I'm just going to pick up one of the colours and touch the paper. And you can see as it's hitting the water, it's starting to spread. So you can have some fun with that and just move it around. Pop a bit more over here. This is going to be covered with lots of layers of paint in our workshop. So the unpredictability of it is really nice to embrace. Just pick up. It might go a bit dark down here. That could be quite nice. So just keep adding colour, and as they dry they'll start to intermingle more, so it's completely up to you if you want to mix them around a bit at this stage. I quite like to just muddy them up a little bit. If you bring in a bit more water, it will create a connection between the colours, but basically it's up to you just to play around and have fun. If you've got lots of little scraps of paper, you could just bring them out and have a go with some different colours. Whilst you've got your watercolour out, it's quite nice to play around and just use the paint up on bits of paper and see what background you can create. If you tip your background, look, you can see it's moving the pigment around. And you can actually dry it standing up if it's quite thick or if it's in a sketchbook. So it will start to run and create quite a nice effect. You won't know what effect it creates until the end when the water evaporates and you're just left with a really nice sort of patchy picture. So one of the other things you can do, if you feel you've added too much pigment, you can stick a piece of kitchen roll on and press, and you get really quite pretty piece of kitchen roll and a very, very pale background. I quite like a more impactful background. It creates more atmosphere in the piece, but it's completely up to you how you know what sort of colour you want in the background. And what sort of impact you want. Certainly the darker colours, in a background will create a more of an evening nighttime effect on your landscape, whereas a lighter colour, this one might look more like a summer's day, so you can really affect the look of the piece based on the colour that you use as the background. But really it's about not knowing what the effect's going to be and not trying to manipulate it too much, but enjoying the process of making the background. So that's all from me on this little bit, and hopefully I'll look forward to seeing you on Thursday.